following exercises, graph the given functions by hand. Okay, so there's two ways that you can always graph a function. You can always have a x and a y, basically chart, and label a couple of x-axes, so maybe like -1, 0, and 1. Plug everything in for x, solve for the y's, and then plot. We've done that already in the previous couple of questions. So if you want to see it done that way, you can go back to those videos. I want to show you a different way and a quicker way to show you how to graph these functions by hand. This is by using your transformations. If you are a newbie, I guess, to transformations, that's not bad at all. Just go to our playlist on transformations. You can see it in the description below. That's when we go into depth into transformations. This one, we're just going to kind of pick it up, and I will assume a little bit that you guys understand your transformations, but I think you guys can follow along. So let's go. The first thing that all of these have in common, so let's just start with the first one. Y equals the negative absolute value of x minus 3 minus 2. You're always going to start your graphs from your default graph. The default graph here, the simplest graph, is just y equals the absolute value of x. So you guys need to know what this graph looks like, okay? And this graph looks like a V. And I will show you what it looks like right here. Whee! There it is. Look at that. Look how quick that is. This is your absolute value of x. Y equals the absolute value of x, okay? So just to memorize what this looks like, it always starts at the origin, and it always goes up 1 and over 1 as a point, up 1 and over 1, there's another point, so it kind of has this nice little diagonal across the graph, okay? So that's always a starting point. So for the other ones, we're going to start there as well. So just for simplicity purposes, since they all are absolute values, we have to start with our standard graph. Okay. Now we're just going to be doing some manipulations based off of what the graph says to our absolute value graph. So what I like to do is I just like to list all the transformations that's going on, and then I just take my graph and I just manipulate it to what it says. So it looks like there are 3 different things. If I just write this out again, this was the standard. How many different things or how many additional things that are in our graph that's not in the original? Well, and I will color code them. There's this negative in the front, right? That's not on this graph. So that has to do something. There's this -3. That's not on the original graph, so I have to do that. And then there's this -2. That's not on the original. So there's 3 things that are different here, and we have to categorize them. So let's start, I guess, and go from left to right. So the first thing that we're going to do is address this negative in front. When you see a negative in front, so if I can just pull this out, look at that. If you see a negative times the absolute value function, this is just saying that you are reflecting. It's a reflection over the x-axis, and the x-axis is this line over here. So basically what you're doing is you're just manipulating this graph and turning it over on the flip side. So you're literally flipping this whole graph. So instead of it being a V, it's now going to be a mountaintop. You guys see that? Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to take every point that's on this graph and do the same thing, but below that line that I just draw. So this one was up 1, which means that the new one would be down 1. This point was up 2, so now you gotta go down 2. This point was up 3, so now you gotta go down 3. And you can kind of see that if you do the same for the other side, it will turn into like a mountain top. So let's do that reflection. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and just rotate it. But we will see. Whee! Beautiful. Let's see if it matches up. That looks pretty good. Okay, so we did the first part. We did this little blue highlight. Check. Now we just have to work on these other two. Okay, so now let's work on this one. And notice that the difference between this -3 and this -2 is that this guy is inside the absolute value. This -2 is outside the absolute value. That's the difference. There are transformations, there are shifts based off of if you are inside the actual function or outside the actual function. So this -3 is an insider, and insides are always horizontal shifts. They will always shift your graph from left to right. So just categorize that, okay? If you're shifting inside, if your number is inside the actual function, these lines, you're going left to right. Now just know that if it is a minus number, you're always going to be going to the right. If it is a plus number, you will be shifting to the left. So just remember that. This is a -3, so we follow this idea that a minus number is always shifting to the right. So I'm going to shift right 3 units, which means that I'm just going to pick up my graph. I'm picking up this graph right here, and I will shift it to the right 3 units. So I'm going to go over 1, and actually, I think maybe if I pick this up, yeah, there we go. So I'm going to go over to the right 1, boop, over to the right again, that's 2, over to the right a third time, 3 times. So now we're here. We're almost there, guys. And did you see how this point, I always like to look at the origin. So I went over once, I went over 2 times, and now I'm over 3. And if I do that, all the points shift in the same direction. Now let's address this -2. So actually, let me see here. Actually, we could do that over here. Okay, so now this -2, if I draw this like down here, just so that we have all the notes, these are outside shifts. Outside shifts will always shift a graph from top to bottom, okay? So just know that, once again, you have a minus and a plus. So just know that a plus a number, if this was a +2, you will shift up. So you will go up. If it's a minus number, so minus a number, you will go down. So just remember these 5 shifts. Just to go over again. If there's a negative in front, you flip the whole graph. Then if you have a number inside the function, those are horizontal shifts. And then if you have a number outside the function, you go up and down. So in this case, it's a -2. A minus means that you're going down. How many? They told you that you're going down 2 times. So we're going to shift down 2. So that means I got to take my whole graph and go down 2. I always like to look at the origin. Or not the origin, but the point that in which it, goes one way and the other way. So I'm just going to visualize that point and go down twice. So here I go 1, and then here I go again 2 times. And that is your final graph. So this graph right here is y equals negative times the absolute value of x minus 3 minus 2. And that's your final answer. Okay, let's do the same thing for this one. Remember that your default graph is y equals the absolute value of x, which we just drew, or we drew before. Take note as to anything that is different, and let's color code them. I see that I have a negative in the front. I see that I have a -1 inside the function, and then I see that I have a -2 outside the function. These three things are not in your original graph, so I must do my transformations. Let's start from left to right. Let's address this blue negative. Remember, the negative in the front is always reflecting. So you're turning the V into a mountaintop. Whee! So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take this and we're going to just turn it on its head. Oh gosh, maybe I should have done it this way. Yeah, that looks much better. Let's see. Whee! So I turn it on its head and then I bring it down. And that's perfect. There you go. Okay, so the first one is done. Check. Now let's address the green. There's a -1, and that's inside the function. So remember, inside are horizontal shifts. You will go from left to right. And remember, if you have a negative number, you go to the right. But if you have a positive number in there, you will shift to the left. We have a -1. So a -1 means that I will go to the right. And I'm going to the right one number. I always like to look at the origin point, or the point in which your mountaintop will start, going down. So I'm just going to visualize that, and I'm just going to move the whole graph over 1. So if that mountaintop goes over 1, the whole graph has to go over 1 as well. And it's going to the right one. So here we go. Oh, I like that. So you can kind of see the before and after. So you see how I just went over 1 and the whole graph goes over 1? That's what we have to do. So here we go. Boop. Beautiful. The second one, check. Now we just have to work on the last one. This is a -2. It's outside of the absolute value. Those, just like we said before, those are your vertical shifts. If it's a plus, you will go up. If it's a minus, you will go down. This is a -2. So we will be going down 2 units. So let's see if I could do that little thing again. So I like to pinpoint. I like to look at the mountaintop, the actual peak of the mountain. And let's see. Whoop. Let's see. This one won't let me do the before and after, but that's okay. I'm going to go down 1 and then down 2. And there you go. Might be coming off the page a little bit, but you kind of get the idea. That would be y equals, or in this case, f of x, right? And just know that f of x is just a fancy way of saying y equals, okay? So this would just be f of x equals the negative absolute value of x minus 1 minus 2. And that's the final answer for this one. Doing the same thing for now, f of x equals negative absolute value of x plus 3 plus 1. Or actually plus 4. Remember, the default is y equals just the absolute value of x, or we could even say f of x equals the absolute value of x. So what are the 3 things that are different? This negative in the front, this plus 3 inside the function, and this plus 4 outside the function. The negative in the front means reflection. So I'm going to take this whole graph, just like we did before. It was a V, and now it's got to turn into a mountaintop. Boop. Now, let's do the inside one. Remember, any numbers that are inside of your function, in this case the absolute function, is a right and left shift. This one is now a plus number. Pluses always go to the left. So this, it's a plus 3, which means that I will be going to the left 3. So I'm going to visualize the peak of the mountain, and I need to take my whole graph and go over 3 to the left. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, we are almost there. Now we just have to deal with this plus 4. It's outside of the function. It's outside of that absolute value. So those are your vertical shifts. And in this case, it's a plus 4. So anytime it's a plus, you're going up. So you're going up 4 units. So I'm going to visualize my whole graph, and I'm going to go up 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And there you go. I know that it kind of gets a little bit over here, but that's fine. So this would be f of x equals the negative absolute value of x plus 3 plus 4. And you are done. So once you guys start getting the hang of it, these will be easy peasy. 1, 2, 3. You'll be able to identify these 3 changes and then just do them, super, super fast. Okay? But anyway, this was fun. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Love to hear from you guys. If you want to help us out, please hit that subscribe button. And as always, I hope you guys have a great day. All right, happy studying. Math is fun. I will see you guys all in the next question. And check out those playlists if you are looking for different topics. They're in the description, okay? I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye-bye.